right?
Correct.
Hello and welcome to this session of compulsory English class for BA second year, BCom second year. In this session, we study direct and indirect narration. As we know, direct and indirect narration is prescribed not only at university level, but it is also prescribed in state level examinations also. Not only that, direct and indirect narration is prescribed in the UPSC also. In one of the main subjects, one of the general study papers, you have to study a paper called compulsory English in the UPSC, wherein you have to study direct and indirect narration also. So studying direct and indirect narration is not only important from university examination, but considering the heterogeneous, diverse composition of this particular class, it will be wise on our part, it will be prudent on our part to be bilingual. Because the composition of the compulsory class is such that most people are uncomfortable with English. So going in toto in English only will be unjustified. So we'll be using English and Marathi intermittently. Direct आणि indirect कथन हे कुठे वापरायचं आणि कसं वापरायचं याचे काही नियम आहेत. ते नियम आपल्याला या वर्गामध्ये शिकावायचे आहेत. बीकॉम सेकंड इयरच्या वर्गाला या वर्षापासून आलेल्या अभ्यासक्रमामध्ये 5 मार्कांसाठी डायरेक्ट इनडायरेक्ट नॅरेशन आपल्याला शिकावायचं आहे. इथे जरी 5 मार्कांचं डायरेक्ट इनडायरेक्ट नॅरेशन असलं तरी राज्यसेवा परीक्षेसाठी, केंद्रीय सेवा परीक्षेसाठी सुद्धा डायरेक्ट इनडायरेक्ट नॅरेशन हे विचारलं जातं. परवा मी UPSCच्या परीक्षेचं स्ट्रक्चर पाहत होतो, तर त्याच्यामध्ये एक संपूर्ण पेपर ज्याला कंपल्सरी इंग्लिश असं म्हणतात, जो 300 मार्कांचा आहे. त्याच्यामध्ये 100 मार्कांचा एक एसे रायटिंग आहे, 75 मार्कांचा कॉम्प्रिहेन्शन आहे आणि 75 मार्कांचा प्रेसी रायटिंग आहे. हे 250 मार्क्स झाले आणि 50 मार्कांचे उर्वरित 50 मार्क हे व्याकरणासाठी आहेत. या व्याकरणामध्ये डायरेक्ट नॅरेशन आहे, इनडायरेक्ट नॅरेशन आहे, ॲक्टिव्ह व्हॉइस आहे, पॅसिव्ह व्हॉइस आहे, ॲम्बिग्विटी आहे, ॲक्सेप्टेबिलिटी आहे. असे वेगवेगळे ग्रामॅटिकल आयटम्स हे UPSCच्या मेन्स परीक्षेमध्ये विचारल्या जातात 50 मार्कांसाठी. म्हणून डायरेक्ट इनडायरेक्ट नॅरेशन हे केवळ विद्यापीठी परीक्षेसाठीच लक्षात न घेता, अभ्यास न करता, ते इतर स्पर्धा परीक्षांसाठी सुद्धा त्या दृष्टीने सुद्धा त्याचा अभ्यास व्हावा अशी अपेक्षा आहे. तर डायरेक्ट कथन, प्रत्यक्ष कथन आणि अप्रत्यक्ष कथन कशाला म्हणायचं, कुठे म्हणायचं? जेव्हा 2 व्यक्तींमध्ये एक संभाषण होतं, त्या 2 व्यक्तींमध्ये प्रत्यक्ष झालेल्या संबोधनाला डायरेक्ट स्पीच असं म्हणायचं. उदाहरण घेऊ, एक उदाहरण घेऊ आपण. उदाहरण वाक्य असं आहे की रामा सेड टू मी, कॉमा इंटरव्हेटेड कॉमा, I eat a mango. This is the actual reported speech. The conversation taking place between 2 persons is this. And who are the persons taking part in the conversation? This is Rama and this me. Now, this me tells someone else what Rama has said. Now this me telling the third person what Rama has said is called indirect narration. Now the indirect narration of this sentence would be like this. Rama said to, told me याचे आपण नियम काय आहेत हे नियम अत्यंत तपशीलवारपणे आपण पुढे जाणार आहोत, परंतु ते नियम शिकण्याच्या अगोदर आपल्याला ऍक्च्युअल डायरेक्टचं इनडायरेक्ट नरेशन कसं करायचं ह्याची अगोदर एकदा आयडिया आली की मग त्याचे जे नियम आहेत, त्याचे जे रूल्स आहेत, ते रूल्स आपण त्याला अप्लाय करूया, म्हणजे ते आपल्याला ऍक्च्युअली कसं त्याचं इनडायरेक्ट करता येईल हे आपल्याला पाहता येईल. म्हणून ते आपण या उदाहरणाच्या सहाय्याने आपण ते करणार आहोत. रामा टोल्ड मी कॉमा इन्व्हर्टेड कॉमा जाऊन कंजंक्शन दॅट केम दॅट हा आय प्रत्यक्ष कथनामध्ये आय म्हणजे कोण, हा आय इज दिस रामा. आणि या रामाचा प्रोनाउन काय आहे, ही. रिपोर्टेड स्पीच हे सिंपल प्रेझेंट आहे आणि रिपोर्टिंग वर्ब हा सिंपल पास्ट असल्यामुळे रिपोर्टेड स्पीच हा सिंपल पास्ट मध्ये कन्वर्ट होईल. म्हणजे काय होईल, रामा टोल्ड मी दॅट ही एट अ मँगो. रामा टोल्ड मी दॅट ही एट अ मँगो. हे इनडायरेक्ट नॅरेशन होईल. आले का लक्षात? याचे काही नियम आहेत, ते नियम आपल्याला शिकावं लागतात. ते नियम शिकण्याच्या अगोदर आपल्याला दुसऱ्या काही गोष्टी आपल्याला आपल्याला लक्षात घ्याव्या लागतील. त्या पुढील प्रमाणे आपण तेच वाक्य घेऊया आणि त्या वाक्याच्या आधारे आपण सगळ्या गोष्टी स्पष्ट करूया. Rama said to me, I eat a mango. ठीक आहे, ओके. आता जे काही इन्व्हर्टेड कॉमाच असतं याला रिपोर्टेड स्पीच असं म्हणतात. रिपोर्टेड स्पीच जे प्रत्यक्ष कथन असतं त्याला म्हणायचं रिपोर्टेड स्पीच. आणि रिपोर्टेड स्पीचच्या बाहेर जे काही असतं त्याला म्हणायचं रिपोर्टिंग क्लॉज. याला म्हणायचं रिपोर्टिंग क्लॉज. रिपोर्टेड स्पीच आणि रिपोर्टिंग क्लॉज. या रिपोर्टिंग क्लॉज मध्ये जे वर्ब असतं त्याला म्हणायचं रिपोर्टिंग वर्ब. रिपोर्टिंग वर्ब याला म्हणायचं रिपोर्टिंग वर्ब. डायरेक्ट नॅरेशनचा इनडायरेक्ट नॅरेशन करताना सगळ्यात महत्वाची कोणती गोष्ट असेल तर ते आहे रिपोर्टिंग वर्ब. हे रिपोर्टिंग वर्ब 3 काळामध्ये असू शकतो. आता हेच उदाहरण आपण दुसऱ्या याच्यामध्ये सुद्धा घेऊया. हा रिपोर्टिंग वर्ब जो आहे इथे पास्ट टेन्सेस मध्ये आहे. Say is the second form of the verb say. Yes, say याचा फर्स्ट फॉर्म होईल. म्हणजे काय होईल, रामा says to me I eat a mango. One form is the past form, the second form is the present form, and the third form will be will say future. Rama will say to me, comma into double inverted comma, I eat a mango. हे रिपोर्टिंग वर्बचे 3 प्रकार येऊ शकतात. आता आपल्याला डायरेक्टचा इनडायरेक्ट करताना सगळ्यात महत्त्वाची आणि सगळ्यात अगोदर लक्षात घेण्याची गोष्ट म्हणजे रिपोर्टिंग स्पीचचा टेन्स कोणता आहे पाहायचा. आणि त्याप्रमाणे मग रिपोर्टेड स्पीचचा इनडायरेक्ट करण्यास आपल्याला त्याप्रमाणे आपल्याला नियम लावावे लागतील. रूल्स विल हॅव टू बी अप्लाइड अकॉर्डिंग टू द फॉर्म ऑफ द रिपोर्टिंग वर्ब. रिपोर्टिंग वर्ब पास्ट मध्ये असेल तर नियमाप्रमाणे रिपोर्टेड स्पीच मध्ये रूपांतर आणि बदल होईल. जसं आता आपण पहिल्यांदा पाहिलं इथे रिपोर्टिंग वर्ब हा पास्ट मध्ये आहे. Reporting, since the reporting verb is in the past, the reporting accordingly change. Now the original tense of the reported speech is the simple past. I eat a mango. Now since the reported verb is in the past, the tense of the reported speech will get converted into the simple past. As we saw, how would the indirect narration would be of this sentence? The indirect narration would be like this. Rama told me that I means he, Rama. He ate, A-T-E, simple past, a mango. Why? This is because the reporting verb is in the past. Now let us see, the reporting verb is in the present. Rama says to me, comma interval comma, I eat a mango. Now since the reporting verb is in the present itself, the tense of the reported speech will not now change. The tense of the reported speech change only when the form of the reporting verb is in the past. So how would the indirect narration of this sentence be? Rama says, it will be retained, this says will be retained, Rama says, or rather, now that you have the object of the preposition, now that you have the object of the preposition, says will be replaced by tells. Rama tells me that, this I means he, Rama, he eats a mango. Now compare this statement, this indirect narration with this narration of the simple past of the reported speech, reporting verb. It is completely changed. Neither the tense of the reporting speech is changed, nor the reporting verb is changed. The tense of the reporting verb and the reported speech will be retained. The same will be the case when we say, Rama will say, to me, comma interval comma, I eat a mango. Now how would the indirect narration would be? It will be like this. Rama will tell me that he eats a mango. Rama will tell me that he eats a mango. So as I told, the most significant, the most crucial factor in converting a direct statement into an indirect statement is the identification of the reporting verb. The first focus should be on the reporting verb. Now this much about the reporting verb. Now you have to change the tense of the reporting speech also. Now we will go again back to our original statement. Rama said to me, I eat a mango. Rama said to me, I eat a mango. Now this is in the simple past. The reporting verb is in the simple past. So the tense of the reported speech will be changed accordingly. Now what is the rule of changing the tense of the reported speech? It depends upon the tense of the reported speech. When the reporting verb is in the past and the reported speech is in the present tense, simple present tense, the tense of the reported speech will change to simple past. Now let us study the whole thing in totality. Now the simple present, simple past, simple past. Okay. Now this present continuous, reported speech is in the present continuous tense. The tense of the reported speech will be converted into simple continuous past. Continuous past. Let us take an example. Let us understand it through an example. We'll retain the same example throughout. Rama said to me, I am eating a mango. Now this is a direct narration statement. Now what does the rule say? When the reporting word is in the past and the tense of the reported speech is in the past continuous, present continuous, the tense is converted into past continuous. The tense is converted into past continuous. Now the indirect narration looks like this. Rama told me that he, now who is this? I am this Rama. This Rama. So its pronoun would be he was eating a mango. He was eating a mango. Just because the reporting verb is in the past, the tense of the reported speech is converted into the past continuous. The original tense of the reported speech is the present continuous. It will be converted into the past continuous. The same is the case with the present perfect. The same is the case with the present perfect. We will take an example of each tense so that things become clear. Let us take an example of the present perfect. Rama said to me, I have eaten a mango. Now this is the sentence in the present perfect tense. Now this needs to be converted into the indirect speech. The same formula. What we have first to do? Identify the tense of the reporting verb. Here in this case it is the past. So the tense of the reported speech needs to be considered, needs to be understood, taken into account, and accordingly changed. Now, I have eaten a mango. This is the perfect, present perfect. It will get converted into the past perfect. Rama told me that this I means Rama, and pronoun for Rama is he. He had eaten a mango. Present perfect, past perfect. The first thing that is to be noticed is the tense of the reporting verb. Now, the same example, if the reporting verb is in the present tense, remember the tense of the reported speech will not be changed. The tense will be retained. Only relevant changes will be made without changing the tense form of the reported speech. So what is to be noticed when you look at a direct narration sentence? The first thing that is to be noticed is the form of the reporting speech. Once you identify it, half of your work is done. Half of your job is done. You have to identify the form of the reporting verb. If it is in the present tense, then no need to change the tense of the reported speech. And if it is in the past, then according to the tense of the reported speech, we have to convert it into the relevant corresponding tense. We will take one more example of the present perfect continuous. Rama said to me, I have been eating a mango. This is in the present perfect continuous. Now what we have to do? Again identify the form of the reporting verb. Again, it is in the simple past. So it is in the past. Rama told me, comma into comma as conjunction in place of this comma, double into comma, that I means Rama, Rama means pronoun he, had been eating a mango. This would be the indirect narration of the given sentence. Now, so far we can assume, or we know the rule says that if the sentence in the reported speech is in the simple past and the reporting verb is in the past, the reported speech in the simple past has to be converted, simple present has to be converted into the simple past. The same is the case with the present continuous. The present continuous form will get converted into the past continuous. The present perfect tense will get converted into the past perfect. The present perfect continuous tense will get converted into the past perfect continuous. Now, some interesting things is to be noticed and observed here. When we come to the simple past, rule changes. Rule changes when we come to the simple past. Okay, let us go to the simple past tense now. Rama said to me, I ate a mango. Rama said to me, I ate a mango. Now this direct narration itself is in the past, simple past. Now the rule says, when the reported speech is in the simple past and the reporting verb also is in the simple past or the past tense, the simple past gets converted into the past perfect. Now this is for the first time rule changes. Up till now, when we have to convert all the four subtypes of the present, that is simple present, present continuous, present perfect and present perfect continuous, they have their change corresponding to their respective tenses in the past. Simple present, simple past. Present continuous, past continuous. Present perfect, past perfect. Present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous. But here for the first time in the course of our study, we learn that when the reported verb, reported speech is in the past and reported verb also in the past, the simple past tense of the reported speech gets converted into the past perfect when we convert it into the indirect speech. This rule has to be noticed, and I have observed, I have noticed in many competitive examinations that examples, questions of such typical nature only are asked. They never use simple questions like this simple present, simple present continuous, present perfect and all that. They ask you questions only on that base, only on that issue, only on that matter which has some problems in it. Now we have to remember that when the reported speech itself is in the past, simple past, it has to be converted into the past perfect. This rule has to be kept in mind. This rule has to be taken into account. So how would the indirect narration of this sentence would be? It would be like this. Rama said to me that this I means Rama, and Rama pronoun for Rama is he, had eaten a mango. Here you have to say Rama told me. Say told it. Rama told me that he had eaten a mango. This would be the indirect narration of the given sentence. Now, past continuous. We'll go to the past continuous. Rama said to me, I was eating a mango. This is the past continuous. Now this is equally interesting. When the reported speech is in the present past continuous, it gets converted into the past perfect continuous tense. This has to be kept in mind. This has to be always kept in mind. When the reported speech is in the past continuous and the reporting verb also in the past, the indirect narration would be in the past perfect continuous tense. Okay, we'll take down the indirect statement also. Rama told me that is conjunction. We will learn all the rules. We will learn what is this that, what is this pronoun, how does it come, what is the subjective case, what is the objective case, what is the possessive case, what is the possessive pronoun, and how they come into the play, how they are applied, how they are used. We will study them one by one. But first and foremost, we have to learn what direct and indirect narration is through an example. Now this is only for demonstrating, this is only for demonstration. We will only learn with the help of the example what direct and indirect narration is. So this is for the sake of demonstrating what it is. Rama told me that I means he, I means Rama means he, had been eating a mango. Now these two sentences, the simple past in the reported speech and the past continuous in the reported speech, they cause a certain problem unless you remember the rule. The rule is very simple but has to be kept in mind, and has not only to be kept in mind but has also to be applied. There is no use only keeping it in mind. You have to apply it. You have to use it. What does the rule say? The rule says that when the reported speech is in the past and the reporting verb also in the past, the simple past gets converted into the past perfect when you convert it into passive, into the indirect narration. And when the reported speech is in the past continuous and the reporting verb also in the past continuous, the corresponding tense of the reported speech would be past perfect continuous. So these two things have to be kept in mind. Okay, now we will go to the past perfect. Rama said to me, I had eaten a mango. This is in the past perfect. Now this is the simplest thing in all the example sentences. There is no change in the reported speech because there is no tense beyond the past perfect. There is no tense beyond the past perfect. So the tense of the reported speech will remain unchanged. This has to be kept in mind. So how would the statement of the indirect narration would be? It would be like this. Rama told me that he had eaten a mango. The whole thing will be the same except the addition of this conjunction and omission of the comma and inverted commas. Rama told me that he had eaten a mango. Remember the tense of the reported speech is also in the past perfect. And the tense of the reported speech in the indirect narration also is in the past perfect. There is no change of the tense as regards the past perfect because there is no tense beyond the past perfect. Okay? Now we'll go the past perfect continuous tense. Past perfect continuous tense. Rama said to me, I had been eating a mango. Rama said to me, I had been eating a mango. Okay? Now, the tense of the reported speech in the indirect speech also remain unchanged because there is no tense beyond the past perfect continuous. There is no change, there is no tense beyond the past perfect continuous also. So the tense of the reported speech will remain unchanged as far as the past perfect continuous tense is concerned. So the indirect narration would be like this. Rama told me that he had been eating a mango. Rama told me that he had been eating a mango. Okay? So this is about demonstrating what direct and indirect narration is. We'll now actually look into the rules of indirect narration. Rule number 1. Whatever the form or the tense of the reporting verb, universal truths are never changed into the past. We studied that the tense of the reported speech is to be changed when the reporting verb is in the past, just like this. But if the reported speech speaks of a universal truth, the tense of the reported speech will not be changed, even if the reporting verb is in the past. Let us take an example. My father said, let us take it down. My father said, the sun rises in the east. My father said, the sun rises in the east. It is a universal truth. It is incontrovertible. We always have the sun rising in the east and setting in the west. It is inchangeable. It is incontrovertible. So, whenever we have universal truths being described in the reported speech, its tense is not changed. Let us take another example. Ravi said, oil floats on water. Ravi said, oil floats on water. It is a universal truth. It is a universal truth, unchanged, incontrovertible. You cannot change because oil, being light in weight, always floats on water. It's a universal truth. It's a universal phenomenon. My sister said, the earth universal fact. It cannot be changed. So reported speeches which speak of universal truths remain unchanged, even if the reporting verb is in the past. Got the point? Now, what would be the indirect narration sentence of this? First sentence would be, my father said, that the sun rises in the east. My father said that the sun rises in the east. It does not become the sun rose in the east, because it is a universal truth. Remains unchanged, even if the reporting verb is in the past. It talks of a universal phenomenon, a universal fact, universal truth. Okay. Now this one, Ravi said, like that only. Ravi said,
oil floats.
That oil floats on water. The tense will remain unchanged, even if the reporting verb is in the past, because the statement in the reported speech talks of a universal fact, incontrollable, inchangeable. The same will be the case here. My sister said
that.
Yes. My sister said that the earth is round. The earth is round. No change in the tense of the reported speech, since it talks of a universal fact. So this rule has to be kept in mind, that reported speeches which contain universal facts are not changed, even if the reporting verb is in the past. This is one rule. Okay. Now we'll go to a chart. We'll go to a chart which will give us an idea about the subjective case, the objective case, the possessive case, and the possessive pronouns of the first person. The pronouns. Let us study them first. Okay. Subjective case, objective case, possessive case, and possessive pronoun. Okay. This chart is very significant in learning direct and indirect narration, because we have to use pronouns, objective cases, subjective cases, possessive cases, and at times possessive pronouns also. So the first person singular will come I, the objective case would be me, possessive case would be my, and the possessive pronoun would be mine. I, me, my, mine. Subjective case, objective case, possessive case, and possessive pronoun. This chart is useful not only for conversion of direct speech into indirect speech, but it is also equally important, if not more important, in active voice and passive voice. When we convert an active voice into a passive voice statement, we have to use the possessive case, the objective case, and all those things. So we have to know by heart this chart if we have to study and understand direct narration, indirect narration, active voice and passive voice. So knowing and understanding this chart by heart is really important. Okay? I, me, my, mine. Now, first person plural, we, us, our, ours. We, us, our, ours. Now, the second person plural, you. You is for singular and plural. In Marathi, you have different pronouns for the second person singular and plural. Tu and tummi. But in English, they have a single pronoun only, you, which represents the singular as well as plural second person. So you, your, and yours. You, your, yours. This is for the second person singular and plural. Okay? Now the third person singular masculine he. Third person singular masculine he. Objective case would be him. Subjective case would be his, and subjective possessive pronoun would be his. He, him, his. Third person singular masculine. Tratiya purushi ekvachani purushalingi. Third person singular masculine he. To. Now third person singular feminine. She. Draw a line first here. He, she, her, hers. She, her, hers. Third person singular feminine. तृतीय पुरुषी एकवचनी स्त्रीवाचक लिंग. He, she, her, hers. Now we'll come to third person singular neuter. Third person singular neuter. What is that? It is it. Third person singular neuter is it. The other side. It. Its. Its. Third person singular neuter. Okay. Now third person plural. Tratiya purushi anek vachan. What is that? They. They, them, their, theirs. They, them, their, theirs. Tratiya purushi anek vachan. Third person plural. So this chart has to be memorized, has to be known by heart to know direct and indirect narration better. Right? This thing has also to be changed. Now there are certain other changes which have to be made. There are certain other changes which have to be made. We will study them right now. Now, for example, in the direct narration, we might have words like now, today, yesterday, tomorrow. These time factors, the time adverbs. This, these, here, okay. Now these get changed into something else. Now is converted into then. Now becomes then in the indirect narration. Today becomes that day. Today becomes that day. Yesterday becomes the previous day. Or the day before. Or the day before. Tomorrow becomes the next day. Only just next day, not the day. Next day. Tomorrow becomes next day. This becomes that. This becomes that. These become those. Here becomes there. Here becomes there. So these relevant changes have also to be marked, have also to be taken into account and changed in the passive and the indirect narration. So this about these things. Let us go now to the modals. Modals are also changed. Modals are also changed. What are modals? Modals are helping verbs. Modals are helping verbs. What are those helping verbs? May, can, will, shall, must. So if you have the modal may in the direct narration, it is changed into might. May is changed into might. So for example, let us say Rama said, "It may rain today." Rama said, "It may rain today." What would be the direct indirect narration? Rama said that it might rain that day, because we just saw that today is changed into that day. The indirect narration would be like this: Rama said that it might rain that day. May is converted into might and today is converted into that day. So these changes have to be taken into account. You cannot attain proficiency, you cannot acquire proficiency unless you know these things by heart. You have to be reminded of the relevant change of a particular word. For example, if you have the word yesterday, you cannot use the word yesterday itself in the indirect narration. You have to use the word the day before or the previous day. For tomorrow, you cannot simply use the word, retain the word tomorrow. You have to say next day. Now, then, today, that day, yesterday, day before, or the previous day, this, that, these, those. Okay. Now, can would get converted into could. Can would get converted into could. Simple past. Will and shall. Here is a certain thing which needs to be considered. Now, we might think that the past form of shall is should. No. The past form of shall would be would only.
Would.
So we have to use would also for will
As well as
and also for shall. So let us take an example. My brother said, comma, it double inverted comma, it shall rain today. How would the indirect narration would be? My brother said that it. Now you cannot use the should in place of shall. You have to use would in place of shall. My brother said that it would rain that day. So even if the modal auxiliary shall is there in the sentence, its conversion would not be in should, but it would be in would. So would is used both for will and shall in indirect narration. Now must. Most people do not know actually what is to be used, how must is to be converted into the indirect narration. The word or the helping verb, the auxiliary for must is to be used in the indirect narration is, remember, it had to. Must gets converted into had to. Let us consider an example. My father said, I must go to receive the guests. Okay? My father said, I must go to receive the guests. How would the indirect narration would be? The indirect narration would be like this. My father said that he had to go to receive the guests. So this is how things have to be remembered and applied while converting a direct narration sentence into an indirect narration sentence. We call it a day now, we take a break now, and when we return for the next session, we'll go further and exemplify things with the help of examples. Thank you.